If you haven't heard already, Donald Trump will not be returning to Facebook until 2023. Now, for those fake progressives that live in Australia, those fake lefties that live here, I would remind you that the left in America, the true progressives, don't agree with censorship. In fact, many people in Australia that have been listening to me for a very long time know that I was a former lefty. I was a card-carrying TYT supporter of the Young Turks run by Cenk Uygur. Now, one of the insights that being a former lefty gave me was I could outflank any lefty I was debating once I became a conservative. There are many people that I continue to listen to even today after I made the change from left to right. And one of them I want to introduce you to today. His name is Jimmy Dore, and he does a phenomenal job in covering the news in a very intellectually honest manner. And that's in short supply nowadays. Now, Jimmy has always been a defender of freedom of speech, even for the president. And I thought it'd be very interesting if you guys heard what he had to say when listening to what happened to Donald Trump. And I very strongly encourage you to subscribe to his channel to have a bit of a more all-rounded understanding. You'll have your disagreements with him, I have no doubt, but it's important to increase your news diet. This guy's not a plant, he's not a Freemason, he's a very intellectually honest man, and he's very passionate about the things he talks about.
The President of the United States is going to be banned from Twitter for 2 more years. Facebook suspends Trump until 2023 and shifts the rules for world leaders. Boy, I wonder what's coming up in 2024 that made them change their minds. Am I right? Come on. Are they going to reinstate all the anti-war pages that they deleted too? I bet they won't. I bet they won't. Yes, the suspension will last 2 years from the date of the initial block and would only be lifted if the risk to public safety has receded, Facebook said on Friday. I think censorship is a bigger threat to public safety than anything Donald Trump is going to say on Facebook. That's where I come from. That's where this loony lefty comes from. I know it's crazy to think that censorship is a bad idea no matter where. And by the way, people say, well, Jimmy, Facebook's a private company. Okay, so here's what you say to people who say that. You say, I am against censorship no matter where it comes from, right? I'm against censorship. I am for freedom of speech and liberal speech and freedom of speech and anti-censorship, the sentiment that came out of the Enlightenment. We're against censorship, whether it comes from the state, whether it comes from the church, or whether it comes from a corporation.
Yeah.
That's what you tell those people. And by the way, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube should no longer be private companies. They should be public utilities, just like the telephone is. Because just like 30 years ago, you couldn't start a business without a telephone, you can't do a business without social media. And you can't be a prominent person in America without a telephone or without social media. So those should be now considered public utilities. That's another thing you tell people who say stupid shit like censorship is good. This is what I used to tell the Young Turks over and over.
Oh my, don't get me started.
They don't hear me because Cenk Uygur is a right-wing, union-busting warmonger, and he hires women that believe that too. The suspension will last 2 years. Okay. This new timeline denies Republican Trump a major social media megaphone ahead of the November 2022 congressional elections. However, so they're shifting the political debate and they're admitting it. So Facebook is admitting that they're controlling the political narrative and the debate. Indeed. They're admitting that. That this is, you can't get your message out without them. They're admitting that.
Yeah. 100%.
However, it means he may be able to return to Facebook well before the next presidential election in 2024. Trump has been permanently banned by Twitter and remains suspended by Alphabet's Google, YouTube. So YouTube is owned by Google. Google is owned by Alphabet.
That's right. Biggest donor to Hillary Clinton in 2016. Remember that. Biggest donor.
And Trump has remained permanently banned on those. Does that make you feel comfortable that the leader of a major political party isn't allowed on what should be a public utility? They're trying to squelch it. That should scare you. Facebook's oversight board. It says Facebook's oversight board. Are you ready for this?
Oh, you're gonna love this.
An independent group funded by the company. That's not an independent group. That's not an independent group. That's a group that works for Facebook. Funded by Facebook, and they're an independent group that gets all their money from Jeff Zuckerberg or Mark Zuckerberg. How is that independent? This is amazing. They're an independent group funded by the company who rule on a small slice of controversial content decisions. In May, it upheld the company's unprecedented block of President Trump.
Random people get to just
Random
do
people.
this. Random people just get to make the decision that
Nameless,
the President of the
faceless.
United States can be censored.
Nameless, faceless people. Trump said, next time I'm in the White House, there will be no more dinners at his request.
That's Jimmy. That's Jimmy. Now, for those of you who've been watching the show, I've introduced you to Jimmy before. He's a pretty cool dude. I'd love to meet him one day in person or even over Zoom. But in the meantime, diversify your news diet a bit. Listen to Jimmy Dore. I'll give you a handful of other guys in the near future. Jordan Chariton, he also worked with the Young Turks formerly. And also Secular Talk, Carl Kalinske. He used to work with TYT as well. Really good voices if you want to understand the real progressive view of things. But the fake progressives in Australia, many of which I never would have followed when I was a progressive, they do not represent that viewpoint. They do not understand the importance of free speech, and they would not be on the side of free speech when it comes to Craig Kelly, because he's not his man. They're not his men. You should be fighting for all speech that doesn't break laws that have to do with inciting violence already on the books. And we should have free speech in Australia. It's as simple as that. And I can't recommend Jimmy Dore more highly, guys. I've been listening to him longer than Ben Shapiro. Think about that for a second. And when you're having debates with people, think about this. Do you think they're going to listen to you if they're a lefty when you show them a Ben Shapiro video or a Steven Crowder video, or maybe even a Tim Pool video, even though Tim Pool's centrist? You've got to be smarter. You've got to be smarter than that. Put a lefty video up. Put Jimmy Dore up. Put Jordan Chariton up. Put Secular Talk with Carl Kalinske. But you've got to be smarter about this. Sending them Dan Bongino it's not gonna cut it. You're preaching to the convert. You send those videos to the converted, But keep it in mind when you're changing minds, and always think of it from their perspective, how your message is coming across, because it's not up to you to work out exactly how you can win the argument. You need to win the argument in a very smart manner. You can't just be like, I just want to smash them with facts and logic, as Ben Shapiro would say. You've got to convince them, because you need to understand every person you talk to that's a progressive or a lefty, they are a potential conservative, just as I was. I was a progressive. I used to buy into the Black Lives Matter narrative, and it didn't take me long to realize that, black conservatives like Thomas Sowell don't agree with it at all. And the facts don't back what's going on. So have a think about that, and remember, diversify what you listen to. I don't want you only listening to me. I don't want you only listening to conservatives or only lefties. Always diversify your diet of news. You guys have an awesome day today.